What is normal? This word, it just separates. In my opinion, this word should be eradicated. Normal is a left hemisphere judgment. It categorizes. It distinguishes people and everything else. And for human beings, the word normal, it's really discriminating for those that do not really fit into that narrow box of so-called normal behavior. And if you go out in nature, everything just is, right? Everything grows, everything can just be, and nothing more. It's so simple as that. And therefore, nature can really teach us.
I don't use magic or power or witchcraft or whatever you want to call it. It's not who I am. 2 red patches burned on my cheeks. It is who you are. It's in your blood. It's in your bones. You were born a witch, just as you were born to have blonde hair and blue eyes. I don't want it, I finally said through gritted teeth, and never asked for it. What's wrong with it? You were glad of Amira's power of empathy tonight. That's a large part of her magic. It's no better or worse to have the talents of a witch than it is to have the talent to make music or to write poetry. It's just different. I don't want to be different, I said fiercely. I want a simple, ordinary life, like humans enjoy. You must wish you were normal. I can tell you as a scientist, Diana, that there's no such thing as normal. His voice was losing its careful softness. Normal is a bedtime story, a fable, that humans tell themselves to feel better when faced with overwhelming evidence that most of what's happening around them is not normal at all. Nothing, he said, would shake my conviction that it was dangerous to be a creature in a world dominated by humans.
When it came time for several of her friends to gather around her and say, "You must learn what it is right and proper for little girls to do, because this is what you are." And so she goes and she tries. She tries to learn to dance. She tries to learn to write. She tries to learn to be a proper lady and wear a dress. It just doesn't go very well. My mother remembers this, but I do not. Apparently, when I was 5, I looked up at her and I said, "I'm not a lady and you can't make me into one."
She said something that bothered me, and I've never told anyone. I don't want to upset you.
You won't upset me.
Well, she was being difficult and unpleasant, saying that Anne was manipulative. But then she said, "Your sister is unnatural." And I said, "Yes, I know. She lacks anything to do with medicine or mining or mathematics and all the things women aren't supposed to be interested in." And she said, "No, not that."
Nonsense.
Is it?
You've no idea how many tears I've shed over Anne over the years. It's not because I'm ashamed of her. Not once, not for a moment. But because I love her. I can never stand the thought of anything nasty being said about her. But when I hear things like that, I think, shame on them. Shame on anyone who says it or thinks it or listens to it.
Do you?
If any of these people had a fraction of her talent for happiness, for friendship, her passion for life, people and the world and everything in it, then they'd have something else to talk about, but they don't. Most people are mundane and narrow. And she just got too much about her for this world. I've known it since she was 11. They can't put her into a neat little box. And because that makes her seem different, they say hateful things to try to belittle her. Used to upset her when she was younger, but now she's strong and she's clever and they can't touch her.
Thank goodness you're here.
Oh, I know my being here and speaking will be talked of, but still un peu.
When you go out in nature, then you just relax and you can be yourself. Nobody judging you. Nobody judging you. And it's beautiful to just be. Expression. Everything grows. Birds fly around. Everything just is. And this human idea of what is adequate social behavior and what isn't, to me it's a puzzling and also exhausting. Yeah, nature is just such a good example to teach us that so-called social behavior is an artificial term made up by humans, left hemisphere centered. In nature, it's more the right hemisphere perception, experiencing, enjoying, sensing, being. And that is so recharging and healing also. Enjoying the beauty, look at it. So for me, as I have experienced quite some of societal trauma coming from humans, mainly from their left hemisphere perception, well, you kind of are conditioned to always expect something coming your way. That's called hypervigilance in complex post-traumatic stress injury terms. And therefore, going into nature, being, leaning on a tree, listening, it teaches me to be more in the present now, not in the future, expecting things to be thrown at me, but just be. when you are out in nature, you can just let go of these stresses, and that's so truly healing. And you feel it in your system. And well, I have done this for a while, and it has really helped me to work through stuff and deal with daily stress and not getting so affected by it in the end, or just seeing it in a different way. Yeah, it has done a lot over this time to always reconnect with nature and relax, recharge. Yeah, and therefore it's really so healing from without and within, shifting your own perception to more right hemisphere way of being, and parasympathetic activation, GABA, lessen anxiety. Yeah, and then you have to look at things the other way around, not looking at the symptom, but where did that symptom originate? Where did it come from? What caused it? Right? And for me, usually it's always coming from societal stress, the way we, as domestic human beings, so called civilized human beings, operate or are expected to behave. And then you can just let go of all these conditionings, because in nature things just are. Everything grows in harmony. When I compared Jill Bolte Taylor's book My Stroke of Insight, her famous TED Talk, where she described her left hemisphere stroke and how her verbal language was completely eradicated and her sense of ego, she completely forgot who she was and how she also experienced the world in a very different way over the senses. And then noises were so loud and light was hurtful to her eyes when it was too bright. It was just a completely different perception for her. And yes, she recovered that left hemisphere capacity over time. But she said to experience this other way of being, for her it was nirvana. Yeah, and that's the right hemisphere perception, it's just different. But we can all access that. Just not to that extreme, but be more balanced in our way of being. And then you compare that to late Donna Williams' book Autism and Sensing, the Unlost Instinct, where she describes the system of sensing. And there is also Olga Bogdashina, who compares this book by Donna Williams with Aldous Huxley's book, The Door of Perception, where he describes the mescaline experience, where the so-called reducing valve was completely open and he perceived way more things than usually in his left hemisphere perception. Yeah, then you think, this all sounds the same, which is left hemisphere versus right hemisphere perception. And we as society are usually more left hemisphere centered. Although I must say I never quite moved to the complete ego left hemisphere identification. I was always a bit more in the middle somewhere, never quite fitting in therefore, right? Yeah. My key experience of quite dominant right hemisphere perception was back in 2016 when I went to Glastonbury, Avalon and chilled in the grass in nature, just like that. And then suddenly it just happened, and I have done another video on this. And my perception just shifted spontaneously, completely unexpected. And I felt so loved and embraced by Mother Earth. It was so unconditional giving. It was so touching, and yeah, of course, I cried because I had never ever in my life before experienced true, unconditional motherly love. And this came from Mother Nature giving me that gift. And I will never forget that. So I truly have experienced it myself, what the difference is between left and right hemisphere perception. And right hemisphere perception, it's not abnormal. Gosh, we all have left and right hemispheres. It's just a shift, temporarily, and then you shift back so you can function in this modern society to the left hemisphere perception. Nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. And all I can say, it was beautiful. So beautiful. Just listen to the wind. So relaxing. Yeah, so yesterday I had a very interesting experience. And I wasn't in the woods. I was sitting on my balcony. It was already dark. And I was watching the stars, enjoying the silence. It was very peaceful. And then suddenly I felt this connection with the trees. This place here, all the trees. And I felt my heart center being activated. And I felt like being inside a tree and at the same time feeling the energy of all the trees from an observer perspective. And that was like experiencing the whole spirit of trees here where I live now. And I felt so connected, and it was really a beautiful experience. Yeah, and this morning I felt so inspired to create more art, such as this jewelry with tree pendants like this, and also bracelets, just to honor the trees. So creativity is always activated when the heart chakra is activated for me. And the message from the trees was that I just keep practicing more to activate the heart chakra. Just keep practicing coming to the woods and sitting and focusing on this center. So, yeah.
I wish I was on yonder hill. 'Tis there I'd sit and cry my fill, until every tear would turn a mill. Iskoje to a warning slant. Shul, shul, shularun, shul go sakirag, shul go kyun, shul go darasag selilang. Iskoje to a warning slant. I'll sell my rock, I'll sell my reel, I'll sell my only spinning wheel, to buy my love a sword of steel. Iskoje to a warning slant. Shul, shul, shularun, shul go sakirag, shul go kyun, shul go darasag selilang. Iskoje to a warning slant.